aggregate.
Okay, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our vision statement is connecting, engaging, growing. Next item on the agenda is consideration of agenda amendments or deletions.
I would ask that the board add item G, Heinz Auto Service Technology Class Field Trip to tonight's agenda. You don't need to make any motion, just would like to add it on to there.
Okay, it's added. Good news around the district.
We will save Heinz for last, save the best for last. Nothing against anybody else, but I think we have the principals way back there. Would one of you like to go first?
So last Monday, I know our teachers really appreciated that professional development and work day coming back from a break. We had some really great PD around engagement, and then we also broke out into sessions, and teachers had 6 sessions that they could pick from so that they could feel their needs were being met. We heard lots of great feedback from those sessions and then already seeing some of that stuff put into action. So we're very excited about that. Last night, our 3rd grade teachers hosted iRead Family Night for our students who have not yet passed the iRead 3 test. We were able to purchase through some title funds at the beginning of the year some great activity packets for parents. So we taught them how to use those reading activities at home, passed out snacks, gave away some free books, and had some fun with those families. And then before break, we had the Lions Club donate dictionaries to every single one of our 3rd grade students. This is something that they've done for years. Our students get very excited about this. It is for them to take home, not keep at school. So just something for them to go home and continue to work on their reading.
I'll steal a similar one. My first one is Monday. Our teachers enjoyed some more time. One of the big things that we did was we just kind of had a reset of expectations, and we established a common language amongst our building around some 3 character traits, pillars, whatever you want to call them, and gave our teachers common language to use with each other, but also with our students. So it's mindset, consistency, and discipline. And mindset, the idea is to win each moment. We're faced with moments all day long where we can, kids can choose the right thing or the wrong thing, and us adults can do the same thing. So the idea of winning each moment, and then consistency, the same focus every single day, which again is hard for all of us to do. And so it's not only good for students, but for the adults in the building as well. And then the last pillar character trait is discipline, and to believe that the work that we're doing day in and day out is going to, create positive results for us. And so it was fun it was more fun to do that with the students on the first day back. So we did it with our staff day 1 on the teacher work day, and then they broke into their departments and discussed those ideas further and how they can use them in their classrooms, in the hallways, throughout the entire building. And then we reset those expectations with our students, and it was really cool to have a couple, especially of our older kids, after the meeting come down and say, I really appreciate that we're talking about this. These are things that we don't hear all the time, or we don't hear at home, and so or things that we do hear at home, and you're reinforcing what my parents are saying, and that made me feel really old. So that first work day was good for us. What else? Another good thing, our athletics were all our athletic teams were named first team all sportsmanship, and so we want to be competitive and win, but we want to do that the right way. And so as some of our teams are rebuilding and we're looking for success, it's great that our teams are being honored for their sportsmanship. And then the last thing, our discipline referrals were down significantly from Q1 to Q2. Transition from the intermediate to the senior high school is a tough one for some kids. And the discipline referrals, just with having conversations, using our older students, getting students in the right placement has helped tremendously. I think our 7th grade discipline referrals were cut in half from quarter 1 to quarter 2. So it just says a lot about the work that our teachers are doing in the classroom, but also how we're working to connect with parents and work towards the same common goal. Because as the kids get older, the more responsibility that is on them. And sometimes as a 7th grader, that's hard for our kids to understand and to really own. So it's been cool to see that the work that we're doing day in and day out is producing results. So.
All right. To go off of the same thing that these two said, the PD day, that was fantastic for our teachers. We were able to provide trauma training to our pre-K teachers, which is something that they really needed. We were also then able to talk about engagement, just like Abby's building, talked about what that looks like in the classroom and what engagement looks like versus what compliance looks like, and that we really want our students to be engaged in their learning. We were then able to do some breakout sessions. So Kylie Carr, our special education coordinator, she came and did some great PD for our newer teachers who did not get it 2 years ago. And they were so excited to get that training. We also had instructional assistants who came in as well. So that was fantastic. And then we also talked a lot about data, of course. Just really dove into our iReady data. This is the first year for it, so we had a lot of conversations around that, and we're looking forward to using that data even more. We have also opened our library this week for students to come in. They have been so excited. Many of them thought that they would be able to come in and buy the books. So we had some today saying, I'm going to save up all of my money and come and buy these books next week. So we had to explain that they are not books they're buying. They actually get to come in and use them, and they get to take them home this year. So they were so excited, went and cozied up with books, and it was a really, really fun moment for us. And then last, we have also started a reading challenge with all of our students. And so we are using a platform called Beanstack. And kids can go in, they can log their reading minutes, both at home and at school. And then every 30 minutes that they read, they come down and they get a little keychain that goes on, or a little tag that goes on a keychain. The excitement about a tiny little tag has been amazing. The kids are really, really excited. We have some kids who have already passed the 300-minute mark that we had set for January. So they are continuing to go. We have one who's already up above 400 minutes. And so we're going to continue to find prizes and ways to really reward them for that reading at home.
The principals all mentioned that PD day, and I shared in my board notes, got lots of positive feedback from the principals and from the teachers, just lots of good things going on that day. And so in the board notes, some of the things that the principals shared that day and went over was in your board notes from last week. And then Mr. Evans shared about the pillars. He did a lot of branding signage with that as well to kind of reinforce what they did. And so you can kind of see in that information I shared last week with you guys, you can see some of that branding that was in his material. When you walk through the high school next time, you'll notice that they have posters and signage up to reinforce those 3 pillars and that mindset. So in all of those buildings, they had some great. It was very productive, and it was. We had a really good first semester. That day got everybody off to a great start for second semester and ready to go. So that was encouraging and good to see. And was there anything else?
No. All right. Thanks, everybody. Go home. So it's my turn this month, and so I brought with me some of the leaders in our building. We have our some of our National Technical Honor Society students with us that are going to share several things from our building, and we are spotlighting a few of our programs. So with that, I'm going to sit down and be quiet and let them take over.
Hello, I'm Eliana. I'm the secretary and treasurer of National Technical Honor Society, and we are presenting the Heinz Career Center presentation by National Technical Honor Society members. So we have whiteboards and markers on your desks that you are going to use to write the answer possibly to the question. So the first question is going to be, when is the Career Center open? You have 5 seconds.
Done.
You have done.
Supposed to hold up our answers, or we
Yep.
just?
And flip.
I have no idea.
Oh, I didn't hear the question.
It's in front of you on the whiteboard.
Everybody knows what we do.
Okay, it's 1968.
68. So should we
When
keep
was it, 68?
68? Should we keep score? So if you got it right, give yourself a little tally in the upper right-hand corner. If you got it wrong, keep that area clear.
0.
I cheat.
You cheat.
Okay. Our fun fact is that Hines was Indiana's first career center. Okay. How many programs are offered at Hines?
Dr. Troy.
Everybody ready?
That was a quick
No
guess.
one got it.
20 programs.
Hey, I was close for the second time.
After you got admonished.
Okay. How many schools go to the career center?
I keep my same answer.
I'm taking your side.
Okay, we have 9 schools.
Hey,
We
I
have
got one right.
Alexandria, Eastern, Elwood, Frankton, Hamilton Heights, LaPel, Madison, Grant, Tifton, Tri-Central, and we also have homeschool children who come here. And then we will talk about those in a little bit, the top 5. Which instructor has been at Hines the longest? This one's a pretty popular one.
I know. I can't.
I don't have a quick answer, so.
And Shannon Crescent, this is his 33rd
I
year,
got
so
one.
Go back and forth
congratulations.
between the two of them. I can decide which one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now we're gonna do our program spotlight, starting with auto collision.
That ends the quiz. Did anyone have points?
One.
Five.
Yeah,
So Chad has -5 for you. Dr. Troy wins.
he should.
Yeah. That's a fair answer right there.
Hello, my name's Aiden Nichols and I'm enrolled at the Hines Career Center as a first-year student for auto collision repair.
My name is Jaden Bailey. I'm also a first-year student in auto collision repair at the Hines Career Center.
Today we're going to be going over a program that we use in our classroom. It's called iCar. It helps us with our safety training. It helps us with our with different milestones of auto collision, which is basically like it teaches you plastic repair, metal repair, how to paint, how to use clear coat, how to use a spray gun basically, and it's a program that's taught us a lot of valuable things, and it's gonna stick in my mind for the rest of my life. It's helped me a lot learn about auto collision, and it's helped me learn that this is a career I want to do for my life, and so now we're gonna give a demonstration of the paint simulator that we use in class. He's gonna demonstrate it's called a run, and then he's gonna demonstrate a dry spot or a dry run, and then he's gonna demonstrate a perfect pass through. So just so you guys can get a little run through of every mistake and what can look good, you know. So he's getting ready. So here he's going to demonstrate a run on the top part right here. Where? On the top part of the door. No. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So right here he's too close and he's spraying really, really slow, you know. Just go all the way through. This is called drip, and it creates texture in the paint that you don't want. So now here, I'll reset it. Now he's going to show you a dry run, which is also it means you're too far away and you're going too fast. See how you can still see the gray behind it. It's just he's doing good overlap, but he's just too far away and going way too fast. And here he's going to give you a perfect pass through, maybe. And you see here, he's going with 50% overlap. The 50% overlap is so that you can't see that gray behind, and it gets a good coverage of the entire door. Hands are a little shaky. Little critical.
It's also fun to watch the person doing the VR simulator.
Yeah, but as you see here, he got really good coverage on all of the door, and you can't see any gray spots or any runs or any of the dry spots. So that's actually a pretty perfect pass through. Good job.
Good job.
And I also want to give a big shout out to Tony Hartman, my instructor. He's been the highlight of my day every day at school for the last year of school, and it's actually taught me a lot of discipline and taught me a lot about work ethic. He's got me up. Some days I've been a little drowsy, and he got me up and got me working. So.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mariah Sexton. I'm the Vice President of National Technical Honor Society, and I'm a 2-year student for the Criminal Justice Program. And Jake here is passing out some examples of what we've learned so far in our class.
I was afraid he was doing urine samples.
But we have learned a lot of what entry-level stuff you'll need in the criminal justice field. We've learned like report writing you'll need, how to work and photograph a crime scene, which Jake's actually doing over here. And we learned a lot about criminal law, investigation, forensics, and with the fingerprints you're seeing here, we've learned the different ways to analyze them. There are different techniques. There's like a whole bunch of different powders we use. I believe the one you're holding is a different kind of powder than the one on the plate over there. It's a magnetic one compared to, what was the other one? The volcanic thing?
Magnetic powders and volcanic.
Yeah, the volcanic one. I can't remember the name. But there's different techniques we have to use to do it.
Okay, so basically what you're looking at is fingerprints of, a few of them are myself, predominantly these ones here. We used another student for these fingerprints. That is your handprint, right?
That is my handprint.
And what you'll see on the individual fingerprints are the ridges. And fun fact here, no two fingerprints are the same. They're like snowflakes. And what law enforcement does is they look at your fingerprint. And if you're, a convicted felon, they already have your fingerprint system. If you're not, they hold on to it in case you slip up again. But they compare your fingerprint with the one in the system, and they look at the ridges. They look at the ridges. They look at the cores. They look what type of fingerprint you have. Because you said they were different classifications.
Yeah, there are 3 different kinds of fingerprint. You have swirls, loops, and arches, which can be easily identified by, if you'll look at your fingerprint, you'll be able to see like a little triangle, and that will show if you have a delta. And depending on how many you have, will determine what fingerprint you have.
But they look at your fingerprint, and they look for clues, and they look at the similarities between, the fingerprint in the database and the fingerprint that they find, on a door handle, firearm, sometimes dead bodies in the case of strangulation. And they look at those and they compare them. And they use that as evidence in criminal cases.
That's all from us. So I'm Brooklyn. I'm a second-year nursing student, and I'm going to demonstrate blood pressure on her.
Okay, so when he does that, I'm going to talk about about their CCMA program. So in this, they learn a lot of medical terminology, anatomy, physiology, infection control. They do hands-on training. They go to doctors' offices and hospitals. They do vitals. They learn the EKG. They as well learn CPR. They go to a very good program of that. And they do a lot of work-based learning. And when they're not, they're doing comprehension coursework to learn more about the body. So yeah. Let's see if Laura.
Deep breath. I'm gonna look about 3 things.
My fingers be blue, is that fine?
120 over 80. Nice.
Clear.
That's what it was.
My name is Quentin Douglas. I am a second year at the Visual and Graphic Communications class at Heinz Career Center. And what's being handed out to you right now is something that I've made in class. One of our projects was to create business cards for ourselves. And so what we do in the Visual and Graphic Communications class is we are taught how to use programs like Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, and Adobe InDesign. That's what you do in your first year. In your second year, which is what I'm doing now, you learn a little bit of 2D animation, a little bit of 3D animation. We first time, I believe, kind of dabbled in that this year. And these are some examples of stuff that I made that this was created for, both of these were created for projects. This was a logo, which is something that's done every year. It's to create a logo for yourself if you are a graphic designer. And then the other is a movie poster, which we also designed. These are things I made early on in the year last year. Still some of my favorite things that I've made. And something that we're also doing this year is something that second years do. So my first time experiencing it is there's a competition with a lot of different technical skills, one of which being design, called Skills USA. Me and 6 other second year students, 4 in the afternoon and 2 in the morning, are going to the Skills USA state competition this year. So we already went through the regionals and now we're going straight to state. And we're going to be doing some fundraising for that. I'm not quite sure how exactly that's going to look, but
Pay for registration and
Yeah.
transportation.
I'm Haley Summers. I'm representing the welding class. In our welding class, we go over TIG welding, MIG, stick electrode welding. They're all very different processes. We also go over how using a bandsaw, torches, track cutters. There's many different opportunities that you can take or go into with the welding class. It could be used for even auto body collision. It could be used going into many different trades. Here we have some pieces. The roses were made with MIG welding. We have certain certification pieces going around as well. Every year we do a Midwest competition against other career centers. All the career centers that we go against are adult career centers, and every year we have had kids place.
Is this what you would display?
Yes, ma'am. This is how we cut our certification pieces. We cut it into 3 strips and take the 2 strongest ones. This piece you would test the root, and so you would bend it. If it cracks even the slightest bit, you do not pass. Same with this side. And this is MIG welding. This is a really good piece. This is a TIG torch, which this one's pretty big, but these are used to get into very small spaces, very precise spaces. TIG welding is the cleanest, has to be, yes ma'am.
I learned something today. So that like small thing is the TIG weld.
Yes, ma'am. Very thin metal, aluminum, stainless steel, all kinds of different things.
Things so it's cool. Yeah. Lots of cool things going on in there. And it's loud. Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions for any of our students here? That means you guys were very thorough.
Yeah.
So as you guys were doing it, did you take any of these classes just to try it out? And then if so, has it made you, I know you had, a few of you said that it made you want to do this as your profession. How many of you, just to put your hands up, when you started this, thought that this would be a profession you were going into or just something you wanted to try?
How many of you knew this was the profession?
Okay, now after going through the classes and actually doing it, how many of you want to stay in your fields and actually make it your career? All right.
Aliana has a cool story because she actually took a different class last year and now is in a new class. Two totally different, fire and rescue, and now she's in the teaching class and she's going to college to be a teacher. So
Similar story with Heather's daughter as well.
Yeah.
She was criminal justice last year, is in education.
I really think it was the teacher. that brought
It's
her.
probably the end. Any other questions?
Do all the classes have like outside world exposure? Do they like the medical?
They all have either outside work-based learning experiences that they can go to. Some in the first year, some are not until the second year, or there's in-class workplace experience simulations. So all of them have that.
I was gonna say, Mr. Evans highlighted the 7th grade classrooms the other day. I do a kind of like an internship over in the 7th grade English department. So I'm with 7th graders from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday in the afternoon. It's quite fun. I've learned a lot. Sometimes it's pretty hard. And so I see the changes that he's talking about in the classrooms, and they are happening. They're pretty good.
Fun fact on that one too, the teacher that she is with also took my class at the Career Center and now he's teaching here at Elwood High School. So yeah, Mr. Jones. So it's working.
You guys did a great job. Thank you.
Yes.
You did do a great job.
Now the exciting part happens.
So this is the part that I told you guys about. Do not feel like you have to stay. I know you all wanted to.
Nobody wants to see us.
You guys can walk through the shop too if you want to.
Where we were hanging out, you guys.
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you guys.
There's a lot of kids in the afternoon. I just think in the morning.
Yeah, because they're gonna use it for, yep, thank you. Oh, yeah. Hey. Please.
When you're ready to.
Ready, guys.
We can move on.
Next, we get a consent agenda.
Yes, sir. The consent agenda includes the cash flow reports along with minutes from the executive session on December 18th, along with the regular board meeting minutes from December 18th and January 5th. Accounts payable totaling $4,122,414.73, and payroll claims totaling $896,229.71. We have donations, $500 donation from Robin Hill to the fax lab, and that concludes the consent agenda.
Any questions? Not, we need a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. No old business on the agenda, so we'll move to new business with the personnel report.
We have Catherine Bennett and Christina Key, both for long-term sub positions. And then we have separations of Liberty, Delaplane, and Windy Hill. And that concludes the personnel report.
Move to approve.
Second,
I'll second it.
motion made and seconded, all in favor say aye. Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Next is the ERC representative for Elwood Schools, and hoping somebody will nominate me.
I will nominate Bob.
Hoping is not really the right word, if you've been there before. Okay, motion, did we get a second?
Second. I don't know if we did.
Yeah, so motion made and seconded, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed nay. Next, we go to the park board representative from the school.
I make a motion to nominate Sandy.
I'll second that.
Okay. Don't get too excited there. So motion made and seconded, nominating Sandy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries.
Sandy, we get another meeting together. How about that?
Yes.
The new mileage rate.
The new mileage IRS, they increased the mileage reimbursement 2.5 cents, so it is now up to 72.5 cents per mile as of January 1st. And I would like the board to move our rate up to the same as the IRS recommended rate for reimbursement of 72.5 cents.
I'll make a motion that we approve the increase of 72.5 cents.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries. That brings us to another exciting part, the academic performance updates. Well, we hope it's exciting. Or maybe dull would be better.
All right. So as I mentioned earlier, iReady, this is the first year for us to use this. We are really liking it. Of course, you know, when you start a new test, you don't know what to expect. We have heard some pretty great things, but we didn't know. And so now that we have been able to have 2 data points in the system, it is really giving us a lot of data. And so we are very excited about where this will help us head. So iReady is an adaptive assessment. So it adjusts the difficulty based upon how students answer. And then that really pinpoints where their learning needs are. It is designed to identify where students are starting so that we can target that instruction. So again, you know, we look at that baseline of beginning of the year. We weren't really sure what to do with that yet. And so now that we have that second data point, it is really important for us to use this and drive those interventions and that instruction in the classroom. This also offers lessons for our teachers to use, so we can actually go in, it will group students for us, and then we can print off lessons that are already ready to go. They are scripted and they are based on the Indiana standards. So that is huge for us, especially when we have instructional assistants who also go in and work with our students. It's something that we know is research backed and it will help them. And then it also allows us to see mastery of Indiana academic standards. So I will show you an example of that here in just a little bit. Abby and I both are taking this. So 3rd grade is only taking reading. K through 2 is taking reading and math. And so we are both sending the reports home to parents after the test. So that is giving parents different resources that they can click on. It is also giving them suggestions. So we are really excited about being able to send that data home to parents as well, and then we can just continue to build off of those resources.
So are there, the lessons, is it so much better than what you had before?
Yes.
That it's actually doing things they should have done all along?
Correct.
So like the lessons for teachers, are they focused on the areas that need improvement for just a specific students who need it? And it's
Yes, and then it will take all of the students in that grade level and it will group them based upon what standards they need and what skills they need, and then you can print those off for that whole
Yes.
group.
So it even creates the groups by doing it.
Yes, Yes, so, and for us at the elementary, this is going to be so much better to ensure that we know where we're headed with these two buildings, with I Read and I Learn, because it's based around those standards. And WEA did break it down into standards, but then it didn't give us the information with that. This is giving us everything.
And the reports that go to the parents, it sounded like you said they could drill down to click on something and take them to where they need to be.
There are links embedded in that you can click on and it will take you to resources.
And it's nice because we have Parent Square that we're sending it through. So we can actually go in and see which parents are actually opening it. And so today I looked and said, oh my goodness, we need to actually print these reports as well for our parent teacher conferences, because I can see, okay, we have 50 parents that have not opened this report, and we really need them to be on board with us with the academic part. So that has been really nice that we can go in and actually see if they're opening it, and then we can act accordingly. Okay, so here's where your jaw might drop. So for us looking at kindergarten, all of this data is based upon 2 grade levels below for us, 1 grade level below, and then early on and above. So when we look at our kindergartners, we have 93% of our kindergartners who are coming in who are already 1 year behind. So you can imagine what that does to our kindergarten teachers. They really want to be able to make 1 year's growth. That won't be enough for us. So if our kids are already coming in this low, we have to look at more making 1 year and 1/3 growth every single year so that we can ensure we're getting them to where they need to be in 3rd grade. That is something that is a shift. We really have to think on that, and we really have to be strategic about it. But as you can see, going into middle of year, we took that 93% and we are now down to, I think it's 61% of our kids now who are 1 grade level below. So is that what we want to see? No, of course not. But we are making growth, and that is the exciting part. So if we can continue on this path and we can continue to take those standards and really dive deep and look at them, then we are feeling like we can really get our kids to a better place.
One thing I wanted to understand, like I think with NWEA, there's a moving base. In other words, you spend half a year. If you had a half year's growth, you didn't really make growth that you need, like you just talked about. Is that base being adjusted in the middle of the year?
I don't think it does either. But yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure.
And it's not surprising. For years, we had reports to the board from a grant that came from Eli Lilly and the Madison County administered it. We were starting out behind, not just Elwood, but Madison County as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is where I will say we have a math curriculum now for pre-K. So we are actually looking now at pre-K's math curriculum to see how does that align with the standards that we are seeing our kids are coming in really struggling with. One of the things that we know is the biggest one is that they're coming in and they're not able to even count to 10. So we have tried really in the cafeteria. Shelly Renbarger is fantastic. She has been in there counting every day. She's counting in Spanish with them. I'm sure Abby's probably heard it at home. She is counting by 2s. She is just really trying to bring in any academics she can, even in the lunchroom, because every minute that we have with our kids is precious. And so we have to make sure that we are using those appropriately. So this is 1st grade math. Again, this is our baseline. So when we look at that, we have 27.6% of our kids who were already 2 grade levels below when they came into 1st grade. We have thankfully taken that down to 9%. We had about 70% that were 1 grade level below. Obviously now that's moved to 73 because that red portion has gotten smaller. And then we were able to take that early on grade level from 2%, and we were able to grow that as well. So again, seeing growth, which is exciting. However, we're hopeful that at the end of the year, we will see a lot less red and yellow. 2nd grade. So second grade math, this is the one I think that has stuck out to us the most is what is the disconnect between kindergarten to first and then to second. We are already talking through math curriculum and what that looks like. Our math curriculum is from 2018 and we have new standards that came in 2023. So we are really trying to make sure that we are including those standards that were not there before. And so with that, again, that is where this is going to come in handy for us because we're breaking it down by standards and we can actually look at it and see what our kids are struggling with and what they need. Okay, moving into reading. So not as low in reading as we are in math. We have 77% in kindergarten, again, who are already coming in 1 year below. So again, something that we're working through. We have taken that down to that 46%. So we are continuing to at least see growth and see that it's going in the right direction. So we just have to continue to now dive in, especially in pre-K, and look at those, around 45, 50 kids that we have that come from pre-K. How are we ensuring that they are at least coming in with the skills that they need to be at or early on grade level? First grade reading. So again, you can see we're trending toward making that growth. We started with 9.5% who were 2 grade levels below, and we're down to 4%. And then that at or above, we went from 2% up to, I want to say it was 14%. So really, again, we're trying to make sure that we're pushing those standards and pushing our, oh, wow,
So
thank
much.
you. Pushing our tier
Yeah,
That is-
him reading your numbers, and I'm like, how can you see that?
Okay, so again, second grade, this is where we are diving in continuously with kindergarten first and second grade, just really looking at that vertical alignment with the standards. Because we see that there is that big disconnect again of kids that are going from 1 grade level below and now are going to 2 grade levels below. We obviously don't have the consistent data to be able to say what this will look like at end of year or even beginning of next year. But again, we're excited about what we have and what data this gives us.
I snuck mine in here. We are only doing the reading portion in the third grade because when you come over to the intermediate, third grade is now required to take the iLearn checkpoints. Plus, we have IXL and some other ways to test our students. So to prevent tiring them out of testing, this is one that we cut on the math side just to help with that. But we did want to do reading since the iRead test is such a big part of third grade. We can see that continuation from K1, 2. So when those students come over to us, we kind of already have a good way or good read of where they are, and we know what that data says because we're using it as well. It's not foreign to us. So I don't have mine labeled quite like Amanda's, but if you look at beginning of the year, we were kind of even. So we had 25% of our students coming in 3 levels below. So this is where it's a little different. 25% coming in at 2, 25% coming in at 1, almost 20% there that were on grade level. It says on this report, early third grade, but they were early third graders. We took it in August. So they were on grade level. And then 5% that were already scoring above that. So at middle of the year, we're seeing kind of a shift all the way around, which is exciting. We went down to about 13% that are 3 grade levels behind. Still not where we want to be, but definitely the drop that we do want to see. 19 at 2 years behind, 25 at 1, and then we have 20, almost 27 now that are at least in the third grade. So it still might be early third grade, but they're in the correct grade level now, and we're up to 15% who are now at or above where they need to be. So that's fantastic.
No, you're fine. So like I said, we are seeing evidence of growth. So that is exciting for us because we see that we are going to be closing those learning gaps. Instruction and intervention that we put into place in both buildings after that beginning of the year data it has obviously shifted us in the right direction. Now we just have to continue to really dive in and make sure that we are looking at those standards and that we are applying skills in the classroom. We have had a lot of conversations around the fact that our kids, sometimes we're calling on one kid or we're calling on this kid. They're not all applying the skill. And so even yesterday in our PD, we talked a lot about how all of our kids have to apply the skill in order to be able to master it. And so we talked about different ways to do that. And today, walking into kindergarten, all of the kindergartners had their whiteboards out and they were writing the sounds that they were supposed to be hearing. So we are seeing that transfer from professional development into the classroom, which is great. We just have to continue to really have our kids apply skills. We are seeing fewer students in that most critical category, and more students are moving closer to or onto grade level. This is again giving us some really clear data that we didn't have in the past, so we are excited about that. It is giving us some actionable insights that we can use, which is very exciting for us, and it's giving us that way to measure that progress over time. So we're encouraged by this. Obviously, we want to come back end of year and show a lot better. We want to show that we don't have as many kids who are below grade level, obviously. So that is our goal, and we are working hard to get there. And we are really hopeful that with this data that we have, it will help us to dive in.
Do you think there's teachers themselves are sort of in a learning curve still?
Oh, yeah. So this test was a lot more rigorous for us, which is good. We need that because we need to make sure that they are ready for the test that they're going to take in these two buildings. Our kindergartners alone, the reading test, they had to take 3 20-minute sessions of reading in order to finish the test. So you can imagine 5-year-olds coming in at the beginning of the year and getting on a computer, which some of them have never done, and then sitting for 20 minutes, 3 different sessions for both of the tests. That's a lot. But again, they have to get used to that because we know when they get to 2nd grade and take iRead, they have to sit through it. When they get over here and take those iLearn checkpoints, they're going to have to do it again. So, you know, it's tough that we're testing our youngest kiddos like that, but we have to prepare them. So, this is just an example of the standards report that we can actually pull up for a student. So I just pulled a sample student. You can go in and you can choose standards from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade to see, are they mastering the standard? Are they having a great understanding of it, but they're not quite mastered, or do they have a limited understanding of it? And so this report is really what we are looking at. That we're
This comes right off the system.
Yes, yes.
Drill down to the individual students.
Yes. So for us, especially with iRead, we can pull up all of those 2nd grade standards that we know are essential for iRead, and we can look and see who is not mastering those skills right now, and then make sure we're remediating on that.
Do you foresee this being the first year of using this testing system, the following years of continual build as the teachers get used to doing the new programs, and then like you said, the students, especially the young kids, they're not used to taking tests and doing that, to continue to build and see those graphs go down even more as the years continue, as that class goes to the next class proceeds.
Yes, that is our hope.
Okay.
That is absolutely what we're hoping for. And the fact that we were able to take BOY and really focus on that and see the growth that we did in both of our buildings, that makes us very hopeful that as the years go on, we're going to continue to see that, and our kids will continue to get used to a more rigorous test so that they're prepared.
I'm really happy that it's here that it gives the tools to involve the parents more.
Yes.
Because I think that's always been issues for all school systems.
Yeah.
And when Vicki taught, the big issue was that it was easy to say the parents need to help their kids, but a lot of them didn't know how.
Yes. Yeah.
In addition to the resources, it breaks down in very simple language what does this mean for your child? And it says maybe start here, and it kind of gives some little examples of things that parents can do at home that are not too difficult to understand, so that if you're reading through it, it's something you could try at home with your child.
switching over to the iLearn checkpoints, which are done in Abby's building and my building, we included some information because it's different than iReady. You know, iReady is shows growth. The checkpoints are check-ins throughout the year, and there's certain sets of standards that are on checkpoint 1. And then, you know, we have 2 opportunities to do those, assess on those set of standards for math and English. And then once we get those results back, we look at the data, we remediate, we switch up some of the things that we're doing, and we give some of the students an opportunity to do it as well. And so, you know, we piloted this last year, and I feel like there's still things that the state is changing. You know, we got an email, I think it was last week, that certain standards are now going to be different. And so it's still a kind of a build as we drive, and I think the state is also building as they drive, but it's not a growth measure, and so, you know, you can't compare checkpoint 1 exclusively to checkpoint 2. You know, it's like, how well do we do in checkpoint 1 on those standards? Okay? And then once we see the standards where there are deficits or gaps, we're able to remediate, but at the same time, we're working on checkpoint 2, which is a different set of standards. And, you know, when you're thinking of math, those skills build. And so this information is just kind of what the iLearn is, what the checkpoints are, because before it was, you know, you take iLearn at the end of the year, and there's no checkpoints in the middle. And so we're able to use these checkpoints to, you know, see where our gaps are and really move students in that remediation time. That it looks different in both of our buildings, but I feel like as we're using our instructional coaches, we're seeing, you know, where our kids are at and able to hammer down to what they don't know.
One of the big things about the checkpoints last year with us and across the state, the data that was coming in from that was not helpful in any way, shape, or form. They would just tell us, these are the 6 standards that were tested, and this child fell here. Well, I mean, they could have mastered one of those standards. Which one are they not doing well on? It was not helpful. We could not remediate directed towards that information. So it was really just kind of a checkbox. Okay, we took the test, and now let's go back to what we were doing. I am so happy that they have listened, though I still think that there are some things that they can do to help improve the data still. It is better. Like Mr. Evans said, we are getting things back now where we can break down our students based off of those standards more individually. We are remediating them. We're putting them in groups based off of where their needs are, and they get that second opportunity, which is where we do get to compare apples to apples. So they take it one time, we remediate, they get to take it again, and then we can compare our growth there. I think which I can talk about a little bit more, where we're still working is, okay, those students who maybe didn't make that growth, as we've moved on to checkpoint 2 now, how do we continue to remediate those standards for those students who maybe didn't make the growth we were hoping for? And maybe those who did make growth but didn't quite move into that grade level yet, how do we make sure that we keep pushing them and don't just drop that growth? Because by the time May rolls around, they could have slipped back down again. So still working through that in our PLCs with our teachers, our instructional coaches, and putting those things into place for our students. Yeah, you can skip that. We hit them both. So I typed preliminary here. We were originally set to take our tests, checkpoint 2 or checkpoint 1, opportunity 2, prior to Christmas break. But with the amount of e-learning days, 2-hour delays, things that we had, we just felt as a staff that we would be pushing it through to get it done. We didn't think that they would have the best opportunity to put their best foot forward. So we decided to move that. We are actually taking it this week. So you will see in a minute, some of the numbers that I provide in these graphs differ from the state graphs I show, because I was updating these graphs throughout the day. Even about 45 minutes ago, I was still updating things. So they have not rolled into the state yet. So if you see different percentages, I wasn't trying to tweak them. It's just because they haven't rolled over yet. So if we go,
Back one.
yeah, sorry. This is 3rd grade math. So at the beginning of the year, we had 40% of our kids that were below grade level, 25% that we're approaching, 25% that we're at, and then almost 10% that we're above. And you can see third grade made some really great growth. We're sitting at almost 24% of our students that are above. Now, what I want to make sure that is clear, this is not for all standards. This is just for the section of standards that were tested on checkpoint 1. So now we are remediating for checkpoint 2. We have done a lot of work with our curriculum maps to try to move things around a little bit to match the checkpoints. We don't want to do too much because then it messes with the flow of curriculum, but as we can, we try to move things around. So this is not an overall picture. This is 3 or 4 standards that we're looking at. And then when we look at that, we did have over 60 students who showed some sort of growth. So even if they are still in the red, they could have had growth here, which is great. And then, but like I said a minute ago, we're still focusing on that 20-some students that maybe didn't show growth, they dropped. What happened there? What do we need to work on? What do we need to do for those kiddos? And then this is the state to corporation comparison. So this is where the numbers might be different from my pie graphs. So in the state right now with the opportunity 1 to opportunity 2, 47% of third graders are below. That's the state average. We're sitting at 31%. So we're actually doing better than the state average right now, which is really exciting. And if you look at the above in the blue there, we're over half of what the state is at with 12 to 24%. So
Very good.
yes. So this is 4th grade. Again, you can see the kind of that shift around where we went from close to 60% in the red down to the 39% there in the below. And we also bumped up from 5% at above grade level in these standards to almost 22%, which is wonderful. And then the growth there, we did have one kiddo that stuck right to it and didn't change there in the middle, but they had less than 20 students who did regress or drop, but well close to 70 students that showed some sort of growth. And then the state averages there. So we are a little bit above there, but not a lot. When you're looking, we're very comparable to the state average. 5th grade math, this is one that we're definitely diving into. We didn't see some of the changes that we want in that red section, that below section, which looks like we have our kids that we're approaching. We're really hitting those kids and moving them up into at and above. But our students that are struggling, we need to go back and figure out how are we going to move this needle for them with this particular standards. Even though a lot of them didn't move, we did have growth for a good chunk of them. Around a little over 50 of them did show some sort of growth. And again, just like the pie graph kind of showed, our above is right there at the state average. Our green is pretty close to, but it's where our red, our lowest kids, our most struggling kids, we need to really focus on with this grade level. In 6th grade here, we also had a reduction in the red, not as much as we want, but also you can see the growth there to the green and the blue. And again, even if they aren't moving completely out of the lowest section, or the middle section, we are showing growth in those areas. And the state comparison again.
So is this helping identify issues in the prior year for students? In other words, they come in beginning of the year, there's certain things they didn't get the prior year, and you have to focus on to catch up.
Mm-hmm. And I think we could even see that with her data as she continued, to 2nd grade, those years kind of build up, and that's why she was saying we have to almost do a year and a third to try and catch up. I mean, when they're coming into kindergarten already a year behind, each year that begins to add up.
So it's almost like an intervention between each grade level.
Yes.
And I think that's all my teaching experiences in their buildings. And so I think the older the kids get, that gap, the learning gap, you have kids that are above grade level and they're going to continue to be below above grade level, but then you have the kids that started below before they came in the door. And so, you know, and as that gets wider, it gets more difficult. How do you, you know, keep these kids moving here, keep these kids moving here, and keep these kids moving here?
I should have bold, underlined, and italicized preliminary here because they took this test today, not just this week, but today. In sixth grade, we'll talk about that in a minute, but we have about 30 scores missing, so those scores are very off. But most of math were fairly accurate. Third, fourth, and fifth ELA are close, but not 100%. So again, we have very small slivers through reading, and historically for us, reading has been our lowest year after year. We've been racking our brains, trying different interventions. We got new curriculum this year, which we're very excited about because Amplify was not meeting our needs. You can see the giant growth there in our above and at slivers. A small reduction in our red, but I do feel that reading is moving in the right direction. I think it will take some time to see it since we have this new curriculum this year with what she's doing with iReady. We did see some good growth there. And again, even if we aren't making it out of those red and yellow areas, we do have 60 kids that did show some growth. And very, very close to the state averages here for third grade reading. Fourth grade, they made some great growth as well, kind of cutting that in half, dropping from close to 70% below to 50% below, and growing from 3% above to 7% above. And again, 60 students who grew in that area, or grew something in those areas. Still very close. Fifth grade really made some great growth. So where they struggled a little bit in math, they're doing a great job in reading. So they had some great growth there, dropping from 63% below to 44. Really can see where we shifted them to approaching, which is fantastic. So we know there's some things that are working there, so we just need to continue to build on that, and grew our above from 3% to 8%. With over 60 students showing some growth there. And again, very comparable to the state averages for the opportunity 1 to 2. And now this is the one where we're missing a lot of scores. It is the least accurate of all of them. We have over one whole class of students that still needs to complete this test. But with that, we still did see some improvement there, a slight drop in the red, and some improvement of the at grade level. But I do hope that this will drastically change once those 30 students come in. So.
And I hated to be different, but I couldn't do the cute little backpack next to the name, so I had to do the panther. We set ours up a little bit different. And one of the things that Abby and I talked about, and Dr. Troy and I have talked about, is that state average and being competitive with the state average. And so for us, as we're looking at things, we just want to keep that in mind. And really, as we go through all these, the trend that we're seeing is we have more kids that are below and less kids that are above. The middle sections approaching and at were pretty comparable with the state. And so as we're doing these checkpoints at the junior high level, a couple battles we face is the teenage and preteen brain are interesting, and getting them motivated sometimes is a struggle. And as we get to the end, I'm getting ahead of myself. So this is our 7th grade checkpoint 1, which is one set of standards where we stood, and then checkpoint 2. And I feel like, you can see the below is shrinking just a little bit. And I think as we learn how to interpret this data and we get better about taking the data that we're getting in the checkpoints and then going into that second opportunity and then remediating, I think we will see see more progress at those students that are below. But, as we talked about earlier, this is, they come in the door in kindergarten behind, and that just, for some of our students, we can close those gaps and some of them that not. And so just finding ways for this, our corporation to be kind of a well-oiled machine from one year to the next is the ultimate goal. So that's 7th grade, checkpoint 1 and checkpoint 2 data for our 7th graders and the state average. And then here's 8th grade. We have, and again, cohort to cohort is year to year is different based on, where they were at the previous year. And so some of this, again, some of these were pretty comparable with the state, and others we've got some work to do. And we built in some remediation times this year. We had Mrs. Hoover full-time she's working a lot with our junior high teachers to look at the data and my first year of teaching, I had a lady that I taught with, and she talked about data, and data it's like a rock in a geology class where you have to look at it from so many different angles to really get the true, picture of it. Looking at, a snapshot is this big time overview that we're giving you. There's so much that can be dug into, and in those remediation, we're using IXL, and